It's time for your Low Country real estate market update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Good morning, Charleston. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. I'm your host, Brian Beatty. Thanks for joining me this morning. And over the next hour, we're going to talk about all things real estate here in the Low Country. If this is your first time tuning into this program, let me tell you a little bit about what this program is about. I've been in the top 1% of agents here in Charleston for a long time. I've been doing this for 10 years, sell over 100 homes a year. And I like to take my experiences as an agent that's practicing real estate on a day-to-day basis and then apply that knowledge and that experience to you, the listener, so that if you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, or if you just like to stay up to date with what's going on in our housing market, then this is the show for you. This is where you come to stay informed with all matters housing. So if at any point in time you'd like to reach out to me, like I said, I am selling real estate during the week. I love doing this show on the weekends. It's a nice platform for me to share some stories with you, share some experience, and help educate you on our market. But if you'd like to hire me as your real estate agent, you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate this year, if you know somebody that I can help, then I invite you to either give me a call or go to my website. My phone number is 843-345-1273. Again, that's 843-345-1273. Or you can go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. You can look at everything for sale in the Tri-County area on that site. You can learn more about me as a real estate agent. You're thinking about selling your house. Click on the Sell Your Home tab, and you can learn more about what I do to market my properties for sale. And you can also learn more about my 59-day home sale guarantee. Essentially, I'll sell your home in less than 2 months, or I'll sell it for half my commission. So listingsincharleston.com is the website to go to for that. So last weekend, we talked all about what you need to know if you're going to sell a house this year. So I figured this week we talk about the opposite. We talk about buying a house. So I want to take you through the process start to finish in terms of what you need to know to prepare yourself for buying a home this year. We're going to talk about the market in general, what to expect with regard to negotiating real estate, what sellers want, how to give them what they want, but also get a good deal, how to find those good deals, and then a few other things sprinkled in, how to choose a real estate agent. What are they actually going to do for you to provide you with value throughout the process? So that's the plan for this weekend. And again, I invite you to give me a call. If you're thinking about buying a house or if you have a specific question, I get calls every day almost from this show. And several of the phone calls that I get are just general knowledge questions. Hey, Brian, I just would like to know more about this. And sometimes I just answer their questions. Sometimes I send them an article. Sometimes, of course, we end up working together. But anything I can do to help you, that's what I'm here for. 843-345-1273 is my number, and listingsincharleston.com is the website to go to contact me. So let me talk first. I think it makes most sense. If we're going to talk about buying a house throughout this next hour, I think it makes sense to first start with an understanding of the market in general. We need to have an understanding of what we're getting ourselves into, the dynamics of our market. And our Realtor Association puts out reports at the end of every month that I find to be extremely helpful, and it goes through all kinds of things. It talks about, of course, pricing, listings, sales, distressed properties, new construction, all that fun stuff. So let me just give you a bit of a recap over the next few minutes of what happened in 2015. There really hasn't been much change from the end of the year last year until right now. A lot of people think that we kind of start the market off or start off in our market a little slower in the first quarter. And sometimes that's true, but I got to tell you, our team sold almost a home every month in January, and it is incredibly busy out there. The issue is, and I'm going to curtail this more to the buyers than the sellers in this particular series, although the majority of what I talk about on this program really is more on the seller side of things, and I understand that, so I'm going to talk more about buyers this weekend. But the challenging thing for buyers is finding the inventory. You know, we're in a market right now where it is a seller's market. It is not 2009 or 2011 anymore. And you don't have as many options as you used to. Obviously, in a buyer's market, you have more choices. When you have more choices, prices go down. It's simple supply and demand. Now, we struggle to find inventory for our buyers. And so one of the things we're going to talk about a little later on in this program is how do we actually find that inventory. Anybody can go on Zillow.com and look at properties for sale, but there are always more properties out there than what you're going to see on Zillow or Trulia or Realtor.com or any of those websites. So we're going to talk about how to actually find those homes that are not quote unquote public knowledge. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. But let's focus on the market here for just a few minutes. So people always want to know, what's going on with prices. And so that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to start with prices. I'm going to give you guys an idea of what has happened in our market over the past 5 years. Let's talk about it from the standpoint of, in 2011, if that was essentially the bottom of our market and things started to improve from there in some areas, then how has pricing changed over that 5-year period? Well, I can just tell you that in all of Charleston, the Charleston metro area, prices are up a little over 26% in all of Charleston versus 2011. If you look at it by county, here it is from basically bottom to top. So Berkeley County has seen about a 24% increase in the median sales prices. Charleston County has seen a 34% increase. And then Colleton County has seen a 50% increase. Dorchester County is actually at the bottom. They're at 19%. And there are a few reasons for that, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later on. But if you look at some of these areas and the extreme growth that they've seen in pricing over the past several years, I'll look at downtown Charleston as an example. Downtown Charleston is up 36% from 2011. Daniel Island, as an example, they're up 54%. There are a few other areas in here that some of them don't have a ton of sales every year, so I don't want you to be too thrown off by seeing a number like, I'll choose one here, 75% increase since 2011 in pricing in rural Berkeley County. Well, we don't have a ton of sales out there. So you get 100-something sales, and you try to extrapolate from that a sense of how homes are appreciating, and it's not going up by such a dramatic amount that all homes in rural Berkeley County have appreciated 75%. So some of this stuff you have to take with a little bit of a grain of salt, and that's why I like to start with pricing first, because you have to understand that pricing is incredibly specific depending upon your price range and the area that you live in. $1 million plus homes in Somerville are going to be incredibly different from $1 million plus homes on the Isle of Palms. There's a heck of a lot more homes on the Isle of Palms over $1 million than there are in Somerville. So when we talk about pricing, and when people always ask me, well, what's going on with pricing in my area? I like to answer that by saying, well, let's talk about your neighborhood. Let's talk about your price range, and let's focus on that specific subsection of our market so that you have a better idea of where pricing actually is. So if you're a buyer or a seller and you want to know what's going on in your specific area, the best thing for me to do for you, that's going to be of the greatest value to you, is to set you up with a search that will let you know whenever new listings hit the market or listings sell, to give you an idea of true market value. And then from there, we can do an analysis on each property you're interested or the property you own to say, based on current trends and statistics, here's what we think your home would actually sell for in today's market. Price is ever changing. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. And when you're selling over 100 homes a year, you have a very firm grasp on what buyers are willing to pay for certain kinds of properties in certain kinds of areas. So that's what I want to say about price. And there's a lot more that I could say about it, but I want to get through a few other things. Let's talk about sales in general. We've had, as a market, we have had less listings hit the market for several years, year over year. Inventory is reducing. We're trying to catch up. We're trying to catch up through new construction, but that's still behind. Now, they're gaining some ground here, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. But the issue is more properties are selling than there are properties hitting the market. Our inventory, or the months of inventory, I should say, continues to reduce, which makes things very hard on buyers. We had about a 14% increase in closings in 2015 compared to 2014. And when you look at listings were, we finished off the year, I think, at right under 5,000 listings available for sale. You have to remember that several years ago, at one point in time, we had over 12,000 options available for buyers. And so that's what brought out the investors. And that's why buyers had so many options. And if a seller didn't take a competitive offer at, 10, 15% below fair market value, then the buyer had the ability to go down the street and say, well, I'll make your offer or I'll make your neighbor the same offer and I'll see if they'll take it. it's not really that way anymore. And so we still get these calls from buyers saying, hey, I want to see the foreclosures and the short sales, and I'm interested in picking up a really good deal at, 20, 30% off fair market value. And I got to tell you, folks, that is incredibly, incredibly challenging in this market. Even the banks that own foreclosures or the banks that are involved in the process of short sales still want close to fair market value for those properties because of the lack of inventory. So that, in essence, is the issue with buyers, is that there are less options. Buyers are making competitive offers on properties. And I'm going to tell you a little later on this program how to structure your offer in such a way that you give yourself the best possible chance to get the house that you want. And we're going to discuss the difference between a house that you really want to buy for yourself personally, and then, of course, just purely as an investment. Two different approaches to buying real estate, depending upon how you are going to use that house. But the other thing that I think is really interesting that the Charleston Association of Realtors puts out is the number of showings that homes are getting on average before they sell. And they didn't used to track this information, but now that we have a more clearly defined way of tracking that information, it's very helpful information both for buyers and for sellers. And the interesting thing to look at here is that as it relates to showings, on average, in Charleston County at least, there were about 15 showings that took place before a property went under contract. I think that's incredible. It's actually, the actual number is 12, not 15. Excuse me, I misspoke. In Berkeley County, the number of showings before a home went under contract is 9. And then in Dorchester County, the number was 11. And so for a lot of these listings that I'm taking right now, I took a listing this week that sold in one day. And to be honest with you, I was a little nervous about our asking price, but it was in an area where we had the ability to push the envelope on pricing. We set it above anything else that had sold in that area, comparable, and we got our price. Why? Because there was nothing else out there like it. And buyers, in some instances, are willing to pay what sellers put up in terms of the price, which is great news for sellers, but it makes it very challenging for buyers to clearly determine what is a fair price for the house. So I tell you what, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about that. How do we analyze these properties to determine what's a good value versus what's simply overpriced? How do we differentiate between the sellers that need to sell and the sellers that are just getting greedy about their price? So we're going to talk about all that and more as the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues right here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. Again, reach out to me if you have questions, 843-345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com.
Visit Brian Beatty's website at listingsincharleston.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues next on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. 1250 WTMA. Now, here's more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, and thanks again for tuning in to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. I'm your host, Brian Beatty, and again, if you're joining in for the first time, this is your first time listening to this program, the goal of this show is very simple. It's to inform you on all things relative to housing so that if you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, or if you're going to make some sort of move in real estate at some point in the future, you can rely on the information that I provide you with to become a more informed consumer and to know what to ask and what to do and when to say things to either an agent, a buyer, or a seller to guarantee your success in real estate. So if at any point in time you'd like to discuss your real estate needs with me in private, I'd like for you to call my cell phone. My number is 843-345-1273. Or you can go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. You can look at everything I have for sale, everything that is available for sale in the Tri-County area. Learn more about me as a real estate agent and a company. And then, of course, if you're thinking about selling your house, click on the Sell Your Home tab on my website. You can learn more about my marketing, and you can also learn more about my 59-day home sale guarantee. So listingsincharleston.com is the website, and my cell number is 843-345-1273. So we're talking this weekend about the process of buying a house. Last weekend, we talked about the process of selling a house and what you need to do to prepare yourself, your home, for the sale, for the process in general, and what you need to know about the market to guarantee success. And so I want to do the same thing for buyers. And we just talked about some of the dynamics in our market. We talked about the fact that prices are up Inventory is down, sales are up, homes are selling in less time, with less showings for more money. It's just a very challenging market for buyers. And, I kind of alluded to the fact that there weren't very many distressed properties out there. People always want to know about those things because it's something that they believe is going to give them the best deal possible. And in some instances, that's true. But I have to say that banks, based on my experience, and I've done well over 100 distressed deals, banks want right now very close to what those properties are worth. You know why? Because only 7.5% of our transactions last year were in distress, short sales and foreclosures. So there's so very few of them that the banks don't necessarily need to offer them at humongous discounts to get them off their plate. All they need to do is underprice them a little bit and they'll sell. So going after foreclosures and short sales, if it's a primary residence, might not be within your best interest when you consider the fact that they're as-is sales. And if you're doing a short sale, I have this one short sale that I have been working on, and I am now approaching almost 2 years with this short sale, actively negotiating short sales. And the biggest pain in the you-know-what with short sales is that you can't force a buyer to stick with the process indefinitely. At some point in time, if that bank is not being responsive to the buyer's requests, or they're not pushing that offer through the red tape to get a decision, then that buyer is doing what? They're looking at other properties and saying, well, why am I going to wait around for this property that's not going to fix anything if I can go and find something else that might be a little bit better priced, or that I can just buy right now? And so in this one specific example, I've put this home under contract 4 times. And it seems like right when we get to the finish line, right before we're going to hear from the bank as to whether or not they're going to take this offer, all of which have been good offers, the buyer says, you know what, we're done. We're not waiting around anymore. And when that happens, if you don't put that property back under contract almost immediately, then you've lost all that time. You have to start the negotiations over again because they have all kinds of things that they need to collect from the bank. They need new BPO, a broker price opinion. They need new documentation. They need more bank statements from the seller, all kinds of things. So if you're a buyer, you really need to understand the process of buying a foreclosure or a short sale. It used to be almost all of what I did when our market supported that kind of thing. When 30% of our inventory was in distress, it made a lot more sense for me to focus time and energy and resources on helping those clients find those opportunities or get out of those opportunities if they're a seller. I did a bunch of short sales where I helped sellers get out of very bad situations. And over 90% of my short sales allowed the seller to walk away and they didn't know anything to anybody. That's obviously the main goal here when doing a short sale, but I don't want to get too sidetracked with that. But what I do want to say is that when we're preparing ourselves to look at the home that we're inevitably going to buy, we have to take some time to very clearly understand the market. And so that's what I've hoped to have accomplished over the past 15, 20 minutes or so. So I'm going to move on from that. If you have questions about specific areas, you want to know what homes are worth in this area or this neighborhood, or you're a seller and you want to know how much your home is appreciated or what your home would sell for right now if I brought you a buyer, then give me a call. I'm happy to provide you with that information. My number is 843-345-1273, or you can go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. So let's talk a little bit more about making some preparations prior to purchasing a home. Some of this is going to be a little bit mundane for some people, but let's talk first as if you're a first-time home buyer. This is your first time buying a house, and you just don't know enough about the process to feel comfortable doing things on your own. You would really prefer to have a real estate agent coach you through the process. And remember, when you're buying a house, you do not pay a real estate agent a commission. Our commission is paid for by the seller. So it doesn't cost you anything to hire a real estate agent to help you through that process. Having said that, just because you're not paying the agent doesn't mean that you can get away with just hiring some person that you hardly know that's going to hardly work for you because the bill isn't coming from you. You need to understand that when you hire a realtor, whether you're buying, selling, or investing in real estate, you need to interview that real estate agent. You need to understand and trust that that agent has your best interests at heart, that they have time for you, that they care about their process, that they care about the way that they're perceived by the public and by their clients based off the job that they do for them. And so I'm going to talk about that just a little bit more a little later on in this program, but you really need to understand that if you're going to buy a house, part of the preparations you make is in not only learning about the market, but learning about the process, learning about the agent that's ultimately going to help you get from point A to point Z with as few cuts and bruises as possible, and hopefully lands you in a home that you love and that you got a good deal on. That's the goal, right? So if you're a first-time home buyer, let's just talk for a second about preparing. Let's say, first of all, it's incredibly important for you to have a budget and for you to have your credit checked. I say that because there are plenty of times where we get calls from buyers. We several hundred people a month contact our team in some form or fashion, interested in real estate in the Charleston area. And when we work with buyers, one of the first things we have them do, because it's important, is we have them speak with a mortgage professional. We have them speak with a loan officer or a mortgage broker. The reason we're doing that isn't necessarily to say, hey, we're only working with people that can buy right now. No, that's not the point. The point is, I can't even count the number of buyers that I've spoken to that thought they had the ability to buy a house right now, and then they get their credit pulled right when they find a home that they want to make an offer on, and there's either a mistake on their credit report, or there was something on their credit report that they could have easily paid off or paid down or made go away, and it prevents them from getting a mortgage. So the reason we do that before we start this whole process is just to make sure that there aren't any blemishes on your credit report, and that if you want to move forward with buying a house, that you know how much you can expect to pay on a monthly basis in your mortgage payments, your taxes, your insurance, your maintenance, all of the factors that go into owning a home, and making sure that you've got the job security and the ability financially to make this step. So it all goes back to just preparation. We're not necessarily saying that, hey, unless you get pre-approved, we're not putting you in our car and driving you around. We just want to make sure that if we're going to invest our time and you're going to invest your time, that there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow here. And we're going to have to take some time to prepare you to buy a home. And we're going to spend a lot of our own time educating you on the process. And one of the things we can be most helpful to in the very beginning is to help you budget for the home and to check your credit, just to make sure that there aren't any issues there. So once we get past that, then we always have this question of, well, when's the right time to buy a house? We call it timing the market. Can you time the market? Can you buy at the exact bottom of the real estate market, or can you buy at a specific time in the year where you can get the best deal possible? And the answer, really the easy answer is no. You can't time the market unless you are so tuned in to a specific area that you're looking at, or you hire a real estate agent that understands exactly what's going on in the market you're interested in, that you can make some assessments based on trends within the marketplace to hopefully take advantage of a potential opportunity and buy something below fair market value or at terms that are acceptable to you. We're going to talk about terms later when we talk about negotiating contracts, but this whole idea of timing the market is incredibly challenging to do because it's based off speculation. Warren Buffett has made a fortune off of speculation. I'm not saying to not speculate. I think a good real estate agent can give you some insight into the market to say, hey, I think that based on inventory or based on sales or pricing or whatever the factors are, that it would be a good time to look at these opportunities at this point in time. And I've done that in several instances for my buyer. I do it for myself when I invest in real estate. But the idea of timing a market perfectly is incredibly challenging to do. I never use the word impossible, but it's pretty darn close. And a lot of the reason for that is we just don't have the analytics and the tools and the systems that, a day trader would use to time the market when buying or selling, securities. So when we talk about timing the market, the thing that's really important for you to understand is that it has to be based off of your specific situation. When people say timing the market, they're talking about one of two things: what's convenient for me, or when can I get the best deal on a house? Now, timing the market, there's going to be some external factors that are going to go into your decision that you might not have much control over. So an example of that would be, well, I don't want to change schools on my kids right in the middle of a school year. So I'm going to wait until this summer to buy a house. Is that a good decision to make? Well, if that's the right decision for you and your family, then absolutely. I can find you a good deal, whether it's January or December or any month in between, by knowing and understanding what you're looking for, and then applying my knowledge to the process, my knowledge of the market, to try and differentiate between what's a good price on a home and what's simply overpriced. But a lot of this timing the market business really has more to do with your particular scenario and the factors that go into the decision as to when you're going to move, more so than it does timing the actual market. Because, theoretically, I mean, if I'm being honest, the time would be now, because prices are going up and inventory is still an issue. And you never know what's going to happen with interest rates. I doubt they're going to go down. So essentially, every day that you wait, homes can potentially become more expensive. So that's a little spiel on that. But when I come back, I want to talk about the pre-approval process. I want to talk about the difference between getting pre-qualified, pre-approved, approved, or paying cash. And I'm going to talk about how to incorporate that into your offer so that you look as good as you possibly can if, let's say, you're in a multiple offer situation, which we are still seeing a lot of. So I'm going to take a quick break. When I come back, we're going to talk more about that right here on the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. Again, feel free to reach out to me if you have a real estate question or concern, or if there's anything I can do to help you. My number is 843-345-1273, 345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. We'll take a quick break and be right back.
More stimulating talk on real estate matters with Brian Beatty next on 1250 WTMA. WTMA. You're listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Welcome back, Charleston, and thanks again for tuning in to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. I'm your host, Brian Beatty, and I appreciate all of you that have been listening since 9 o'clock on Saturdays or 10 o'clock if this is Sunday, to learn more about the housing market here in Charleston, as told by someone that is selling over 100 homes a year, that likes to share my experiences with you, so that if you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, you're more informed after listening to the show than you were when you started. So that's my goal with this program. And if at any point in time I can help you with your real estate needs, whether it be a general knowledge question, you're thinking about making a move at some point in the future, or you're ready to buy, sell, or invest in real estate right now, I invite you to give me a call. My number is 843-345-1273. That's my cell phone number, 843-345-1273. Or you can go to my website, contact me that way, listingsincharleston.com. Every home for sale in the Tri-County area is on that website, as well as a list of everything that I've sold and some information about me. And if you're thinking about selling your house, click on the Sell Your Home tab. You can learn more about my 59-day home sale guarantee. I'll sell your home in less than 2 months, or I'll sell it for half my commission. So let's continue our discussion about buying a home in today's market. Last weekend, we talked about what you need to know to sell a home. And so far this weekend, we've talked about what's going on our market, what you need to know in terms of preparing yourself for entering the market as a buyer. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the pre-approval process and selecting the agent that you're going to hire to help you buy a house. So let's first talk about this whole pre-approval process. I said earlier that we encourage buyers to have their credit checked by a lender prior to really starting this process full force. And the reason we do that is just to make sure that there aren't any issues on your credit report. And it also gives you an idea of, how much money you're going to be spending on a monthly basis. What kind of down payment are you going to need in order to buy the house you want, so that you can future cast your expenses. You can budget for this upcoming purchase. And I think it just makes sense to do that. I think it's prudent of you to do that. So we walk them through that process. And what I need for buyers to understand now is that, for me, I guess let me just give you a little bit of insight into my day-to-day business. We sell over 100 homes a year. I primarily work with sellers. Very rarely do I work with buyers in this day and age, because I have buyer agents that do that and they're experts in what they do. But I work with the sellers to help them sell their home. Now, of course, if you want to work with me personally to buy a home, I'm not going to say no. But I've put people on my team for a very specific reason. And that's to make sure that the buyer side of our business is handled by experts and the seller side of our business is handled by experts. I don't necessarily believe anymore in trying to do everything myself. If people hire me for a job, I want to give them all of my time. I want to give them all of my resources, and I want them to know and understand that I am not, in addition to helping them, wearing every other hat associated with running a real estate company. I have people in place to do certain things so that I can focus on my clients. Now, having said that, let me kind of go back. I want to talk about hiring an agent, of course, but let me talk about this pre-approval process. When you're making an offer on a piece of real estate in today's market, first of all, sellers are going to require that you attach to your offer at a very minimum a pre-qualification letter, which simply states you've had a discussion with the lender, they've pulled your credit, they have an understanding of your income and your expenses, and based on your credit score and your potential debt-to-income ratio, you can afford a home in that price range. Okay, so that's a pre-qualification. Pre-approval usually is a step further, and sometimes lenders mix up the language here, but in my mind, a pre-approval is they've taken it a step further. They've reviewed your bank statements. They've reviewed your tax returns. They have a more clear understanding of your income and expenses. And based off of that, they say, yes, based on this information, you are pre-approved. Now, you can take that one step further, which is what I encourage my buyer clients to do, and that's to actually get approved for a mortgage. And here's the thing to understand. Some lenders will not take you through the underwriting process of obtaining a mortgage until you have a ratified contract. I do not agree with that approach. If a lender is willing to collect all of your financials and get a very clear understanding of your income and your expenses, and they are willing to write a letter that says, based on the information you provided us with, we have a commitment to lend. You are approved for a mortgage. You will get a mortgage, assuming nothing else changes and you don't go buy a car during the search for real estate, which we've had happen a few times, which is just like, oh my God. But anyways, assuming that everything checks out, there are certain lenders in town, and I am happy to provide you with the list of people that do this. They will take you through the underwriting process and they will actually approve you for a mortgage. And then they'll say, hey, you have the ability to go get a mortgage. Now go find a house. So I want you to think about that. If you're a buyer and you're in a multiple offer situation, what do you think is going to look stronger to a seller? A piece of paper that says, hey, we pulled your credit, and based on the income you told us you made and your list of expenses, you're pre-qualified for a mortgage, but we still need to collect this, and this. Versus having a letter saying you are going to get a mortgage. We just need to find the house that you want, and it's contingent upon the home appraising for the purchase price or more, and maybe a few other things. But if you think about it that way, as having an approval for a mortgage, it's almost as if you're a cash buyer. Now, obviously, if you're competing against somebody that's cash is king. There is no risk in them not getting a mortgage. But if you've covered your bases, if you've provided documentation, and you've gotten through the underwriting process, when you tell a seller you are approved for a mortgage, and you allow me, your real estate agent, to have that conversation with the other agent to help them understand how far along in the process you are, it provides the seller with peace of mind, and it simply makes your offer look stronger than the other buyer. So the other buyer, let's say they offer the same exact amount as you. You're going to win. You're stronger as a potential candidate for a mortgage than somebody that hasn't been through that process yet. And that's what we help you get to in terms of the point in time that you're ready to make an offer on a house. We've checked all the boxes. All of our ducks are in a row. You have an idea of, your budget once you purchase that home, and you're comfortable with that. You're comfortable with your job security. We have learned everything that we can about what you like and don't like in a home so that we're steering you toward the right opportunities to purchase properties. And then, of course, once we make an offer, we write the offer such that it is as strong a contract as it can possibly be. So again, when I represent sellers and I look at all of these contracts that I get from buyers and buyer agents, if I'm in a multiple offer situation, I'm just going to be honest. If I'm looking at the contract and I know that there are several things that I need to change because the agent didn't do a good enough job consulting that buyer on how to make a strong offer, or I've had to ask them, several times for a pre-qualification letter, and I finally get something that, yes, it's typed up, but it might have as well been written on a napkin. if I'm seeing all of these red flags, I don't have as much trust in that agent or in the process of getting us to the closing table as I would if the buyer agent provided me with all of those things in one attachment, very clearly explained to me what the buyers like about the house, what their situation is, why they're making the offer they're making, they're supporting it by comps, so on and so forth. So 2 things I want to leave you with before I take a break here is that, number one, the agent you hire when you're purchasing a home matters. Yes, of course it matters when you're selling your home, and that's a totally different skill set than hiring a buyer agent. But when you hire a buyer agent, they need to do several things for you in addition to what just the standard real estate agent offers you. So what is that? What does that look like? Just the standard real estate agent. Well, I'll tell you what it looks like very quickly. An agent's going to call you up or meet with you, and they're going to say, what are you looking for in a house? Okay, you want a home in Mount Pleasant between $300,000 and $400,000, between 3 and 4 bedrooms, and between 2,000 and 2,500 square feet. Okay, great. They're going to set you up with a search through the MLS, and they're going to email you properties. And it's not even them that are emailing you properties. It's the system that's generating emails based on new listings that hit the market. You're going to receive those emails, and then you're going to, every once in a while, see a home that you think you like, and you're going to call up that agent and say, hey, can you show me this home today? Sure. So essentially, this agent has spent 15, 20 minutes creating a search for you, and then they're just auto sending you listings, and they're waiting for you to say, hey, tell me what you like and what you want to go see, and then I'll show it to you, and if you like it, we'll write an offer. That's the standard. Going above and beyond is doing several things, really. Number one, that search should also be sent to the real estate agent themselves, so that if the real estate agent sees a good deal, and if we know that properties in this market that are priced right, in good condition, and in a good location sell almost immediately, then it's the agent's responsibility to call their buyer and say, hey, this listing just hit the market this morning. Did you see that email? No? Okay. Well, it looks like it's exactly what you're looking for. Can you meet me over there at lunchtime today? That, in my mind, is just a simple piece of service that the agents should provide, but it already is above and beyond what over half of the real estate agents in this market are going to do for you. In addition to that, they need to help you find opportunities to purchase property outside of what's simply on the MLS. If you're using the agent just to create a search for you, there's not a ton of value there. And I'm just going to be honest. The value comes in finding opportunities that are not publicly available, or in telling you what those opportunities are worth. Hey, this home is underpriced. You need to look at this one today because that's going to go quickly. Or, hey, this home is nice, but they're overpriced by 15%. So if you want, we can look at it, but just understand that they're way above fair market value, and we're going to have to incorporate that into our offer. But the other issue here is writing a contract that's really strong. And so I want to finish off this program by giving you a few things that you have to understand when you're competing in this market as a buyer, some rules to live by, things that I've accumulated over the past 10 years in doing this business, and nearly 1,000 transactions and $500 million in real estate sales. So stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. I'm going to get to that information next. And never hesitate to call me if it's something as simple as a real estate question, or if you'd like to hire me to help you buy, sell, or invest in real estate. I can be reached at 843-345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Find Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues next on The Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
The Big Talker, WTMA.
Now, the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues on Charleston's Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. Just a few minutes left to talk about buying a house here in this market here in 2016. So I want to get through a few more things. But again, if you want my help with regard to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, feel free to call me personally. I can be reached at 843-345-1273, or go to our website, listingsincharleston.com. So one thing that I really want to get across to you guys is that when you're hiring a real estate agent to help you buy a house, we talked about some of the standard things that people can do for you, just setting you up on an MLS search and waiting for them to contact you about, waiting for the the buyer to contact the agent to say, hey, I like this home. Can you show it to me? That's a very reactive approach to helping somebody buy a house. What we do and what we've had great success in over the past 12 to 24 months as inventory has continued to be an issue is that we will get very deep into the process of helping us understand what you want to buy. What does that perfect house look like? And then from there, of course, we're going to look at what's available on the MLS. We're going to look at what used to be on the MLS. Maybe there was an expired or withdrawn listing where the seller had it listed with an agent and it didn't sell. Maybe that was a few years ago. And we then approach those sellers and say, hey, we have a buyer that's interested in your neighborhood. I noticed that your home was on the market and it didn't sell previously. Are you now interested in selling your house? Just doing that provides us with more opportunities for our buyer clients. We also look at for sale by owners. We'll also go so far as to download the phone numbers for an entire neighborhood if there's a specific area that our clients want to look in. And we'll call every single person in that neighborhood and we'll say, hey, we're working with clients that want to buy a home in your neighborhood right now. Have you given any thought to selling your house, or do you know of anybody else in your neighborhood that has talked about selling their home this year? And in doing that, sometimes we can match up a seller and a buyer before that property becomes publicly available. The idea here, of course, is to avoid multiple offer situations. So the point is, when you hire a buyer agent, it goes a lot further than just setting up an MLS search for you and then helping you negotiate a contract. Their job should be to exhaust all resources in finding you the perfect home. And then once your home is selected, then that's when the true colors and the true value of a real estate agent comes to play, because that's how they get you the best deal and best terms on the contract and the home that you ultimately purchase. And so one of the things that I have always lived by in business when I'm negotiating is to be friendly, but to not be their friend. I am not going to give them any sort of information that I think in some way, shape, or form limits our ability to negotiate. I don't need for them to understand how motivated you are as a buyer. I don't need for them to understand why you're buying a house or why someone is selling a house if I'm representing a seller. I don't want to reveal any sort of motivation, because at the end of the day, I owe my client confidentiality, and I can't do anything that's going to compromise their bargaining power. But as a real estate agent, if I'm hired to get you the best deal possible, guess what? I'm going to call the other real estate agent and I'm going to try and get the information out of them. And I know a lot of real estate agents listen to this program and you're probably onto my tricks by now, but the bottom line is, if you're hiring me as your real estate agent, I'm going to do everything I can to report back to you, hey, this seller is relocating to Miami for a job transfer and they have to be there by June. So they need to sell their house, or, they're getting divorced, or something has happened. And so now I have this information and we can use it to our advantage. So the goal is simple: to be friendly and to be polite and to be professional, but to not be their friend. We can be the friend after closing, but this is a poker game and you need to hold your cards close to your chest. They can't use any of that information against you because it's going to weaken your bargaining power. So that's one specific thing. The other thing is to understand that in this market, if sellers are getting the prices that they're setting on their homes because of the fact that prices are rising, what a lot of people are doing in this market right now, and it's no secret, it's not like I'm revealing something that other agents are going to be like, how dare you say that to the public? Buyers are giving the sellers the price that they want. And then once they get the home inspection, because that seller is invested and they've emotionally committed to selling their home, usually they're a little more open to a longer list of repairs than if they didn't have this huge level of motivation to sell their house. So what a lot of people are doing is they're sending in contracts that are at a good price, and then they're beating up the sellers after the fact with all the repairs. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. But there's little things that you can do that you pick up over the years as a real estate agent to help save your client money. And that's what this program is all about. And that's what I'm all about when people hire me to help them buy, sell, or invest in real estate. So if there's anything I can do for you, please give me a call, 843-345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com, and I'm going to post a few more helpful hints on there if you're thinking about buying a home this year. But Would love the opportunity to help you. Thanks so much, Charleston, and have a great weekend.
Join us for another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show next Saturday morning at 9 and Sunday morning at 10. Contact Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. 843-345-1273.